The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hi, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ. I'm here with my co-host, Chip Camara, and I'll be throwing it over to him in a moment. I want to talk about last night's City Council committee meeting. We have to remember that whether or not we want to agree or disagree, we need to do it respectfully. What happened last night was atrocious. The disrespect that was shown to the City Council, it was unacceptable. It was not only disrespectful to the council, it was disrespectful to the city and many members of the viewing audience that was in the gallery. Whether or not you like Pat Casey, Paul De Silva, Ray Mitchell, Jaisal Correa, or even Dan Rigo, you need to show respect for the seat, if nothing else. For city councilors to have to call out to you throughout the meeting to say, shut up, this is what makes it bad, this is what makes you look bad, that can't happen. You know, because of the number of people that wanted to speak on the page to throw issue yesterday, it was difficult for the committee chair to put everyone in. So he limited it to 3 minutes. Now, citizens input time is limited to 3 minutes in the city council, not in committee meetings. The committees don't even have to allow citizens any input time. But Councilor Correa decided to do that. Now, that's left to his discretion as committee chair. And whether that be under Robert's rules, Cushing's rules, or any other rule of order, that is left to the committee chair's discretion. And because you may not like the time or like what is being said or how it's being done, does not mean that you have the right to disrespect the individual. These councilors shown a great deal of respect last night, even though they were greatly disrespected, as were many members of the audience. I don't have a pony in this race. I had facts to present. I needed more time, and Councilor Correa decided that I could not get that more time because of the amount of problems he was already having, and that's fine. So I emailed every city councilor the data and the legal information they needed. I present the facts. And that's what we need to do. We need to not personalize this. This isn't a personal battle. Some things are. And we make personal comments here all the time. We call some of the councilors pet rock and minions, but you know what? It's business. And that's what all of this is about. It's not easy to do. And you know what? I get vilified by a lot of people all the time, and I don't have a problem with that. Like me or don't like me, life is tough. We have the tough skin, we bear it. But when you're at the city council, when you're at a committee meeting, please show some respect. Present the information. If it's personal information, that's fine. You personalize it for yourself. But when people are presenting facts and information that needs to be heard, allow them to speak it and allow to be heard. That's what's important to Fall River. It's never wrong to allow people the right to express their opinions. The truth is not afraid to be debated. But what does happen is we personalize it and it becomes an all-out war of disrespect. This isn't the House of Commons. Maybe we should have that. I'm going to throw this over to you, Chip. You tell us, what do you think?
I agree. You know, the reality is that, look, there's a very high level of frustration in this community, and I understand that, and people are getting they're getting really upset, and it's hard for them to control themselves because in that forum, it's like a courtroom. You know, that's the reason that in a courtroom, the judge can rule you in contempt and have you escorted, clear the courtrooms, because you need some form of decorum in order to let everybody speak. And, you know, but I understand some of these people and their frustrations on both sides. Look, we can disagree with each other all we want, but the fact is everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's like anything, like in a union hall. You know, everybody has a right under any rule of order to give a minority opinion. That's America. You know, you have a right to your opinion, even if it's BS. But the fact is, you have a right to do that. And you're right. You know, I mean, I understand that the city council and these committees are trying to not make these meetings last 5 or 6 hours, but you know, we've talked about this before. I think it might be a very good idea for this mayor or this council to implement basically a town meeting kind of day, you know, where we can have our political officials show up at an informal meeting and kind of run it like the House of Commons. Have people get up and have an open forum, and if it lasts 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours, fine. But let the people in the community say what they have to say. Give them the time that they want. And obviously, once they become redundant and begin to repeat things over and over. But I mean, let everybody say their piece. Give them 5 minutes or 7 minutes, or you know, give them something reasonable. You know, 3 minutes. It's like it takes you 3 minutes to introduce yourself and acknowledge the council. And I think that, you know, one of the problems we have, and it's just as bad as the lack of transparency, is the lack of the ability in this community, the people in this community, to express their opinions and express them in a forum where they feel they can fully get their position made.
You know, Chip, the biggest problem we have, though, with this is that people personalize this. And I mean, there are some things you have to personalize. You've got to make personal. But you don't personalize this. And when you stop personalizing things and making personal attacks on elected officials or corporate counsel or, you know, city administrators or chief of operations or chief of staff or whatever the case may be, you know, people don't respond to you well. I went there last night without a pony in this race and just to present the facts. And because of the time limit that was put on me, I couldn't present those facts clearly. I had to send via email to all the city councilors, to the city clerk, to members of the Waste Task Force, these regulations. And not one of them denied that they never reviewed them. I said to them very clearly, you have never reviewed this information. Had you reviewed it, you would have known what the requirements are. And they didn't. They haven't reviewed those regulations. So I sent them out. And hopefully, as I said in my email to them, that they review them and they give them serious consideration. What I think is really funny, though, was last night was the night of truth amongst everything else. Corporate counsel Gary Howiak, and Gary Howiak and I, we respect each other. We're always on differing sides. But he came out and he said very clearly to the city council members that were present, that this is your plan. And they were all taken aback. I think you and I talked about this. Because Councilor Correa said, this is the mayor's plan. Where's the mayor to tell us he wants this ordinance? He hasn't been here. Well, Councilor Correa, he is the missing mayor. He doesn't show up for anything. But he didn't miss his $250 a plate fundraiser last night, let me tell you. But Corporate Counsel Gary Howiak said, no, when you approved this budget, when the magnanimous 7 at that time approved the budget, because the only person who did not vote for this budget, i.e. vote for pay-as-you-throw, was City Councilor Dan Rigo. City Councilor Linda Pereira was not present. So she can say all she wants that she would have never voted for this budget, she wouldn't have done it. Doesn't matter. You weren't there. I understand you had a health reason, but you weren't there. Therefore, you don't get the mea culpa excuse that I wasn't there, I was sick, but I wouldn't have voted for it. Because you know what? We don't know what you would have done because, again, you weren't there. So the only person that can honestly say they did not vote for this budget was Councilor Rigo. Every one of the others voted for it. And as I reminded Councilor Mayoza and Councilor Mitchell last night, you voted for this budget.
You went to the coffee clutch, you know, where deals aren't made over coffee in Fall River. We've been called out on that too. And you went to the coffee clutch, you made your deal, you came in and voted for this budget, okay? You voted for pay as you throw. This is your headache. This is your headache. You can use the excuse all you want, Councilor Maioza, Councilor Mitchell, Councilor Correa, that the mayor said pay as you throw was gonna happen, whether or not you wanted it. It was going to happen one way or the other. The way it happens, understand this, we've said this over and over again. The way you have control is with the money. And if you approve it, you approve it. You approve the fire department raises, you approve the fire department budget, you approve the police department budget, you approve the DCM budget, and you approved pay as you throw. That is the fact. That's a fact. That's undisputable at this point. Okay? But for the chief of staff to equate the mayor to Donald Rumsfeld was an absolute joke. Okay? You work with what you have when you're in war. Now this is a war, Mr. Pacheco. I think you made a mistake there.
Well, let me start with that. Well, Lou, if you're going to make quotes about wars, let's make it with somebody who actually had major parts in wars. Not a Bush chicken hawk, you know. So number one, let's not go there with Rumsfeld. You used absolutely the wrong example. He may have said something that you believe, but I think that a few other quotes are more in line, like. You know, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, and the buck stops here. So from Harry Truman. The fact is that, listen, it was really great last night to hear that, because we've been saying this since we've been on the air. I don't know how many conversations I've had with numerous city councilors that said, and I told them when they kept saying, well, I didn't do this, the mayor gave the pay raises out. I said, no, you did. You vote on a budget, and if you fund this, you've agreed with it. And I more than once pointed out about what happened in Attleboro many years ago when the Attleboro firefighters won an arbitration, and the arbitration law in the state was changed when 2.5 was done. It was eliminated and reinstituted with a proviso that it's only binding on the mayor to present to a council. Now, the council in Attleboro shot down the funding for that contract, and they had to go back to negotiations, and it took them another 2 or 3 years to settle. So the fact is, when they say, we didn't do it, we can't do anything about it, we don't have any power, this is a strong mayor charter, that is crap. You control the money, and if you control the money, you control the world. All you got to do is look at the Illuminati. You know, the fact is they control the world. The big money people control this world. The only real choices we have in this world is paper or plastic. They make us think we have choices. The fact is, big money runs not only this city, not only this state, not only this nation, but they run the world. And the fact is, when you control the money, you control everything. And you guys are the guys that approved all of this. And if it's in the budget, I don't want to hear, well, I don't remember that in the budget when you actually asked a question about the overtime budget. Or, oh, I didn't know that if I voted for this budget that has pay as you throw in, I am in fact agreeing with pay as you throw. Well, it could be acquiescence, which means to assent by your silence. But since you weren't really silent, you voted on it. Maybe it's a de facto vote for it. So whatever you want to say, the bottom line is that, listen, every single fee, every single negative action taken by any mayor, the sitting council at the time were guilty as accessories before, during, and after the fact, if they voted in favor of it. And the only people who can say, you can't blame me, are people who voted against them. And that's the reality of it. And another thing was said at yesterday's meeting, I have to review it again. But I believe Attorney Howiak also said to the city council that they were the sole authority for imposing fees.
Yes, he did.
Which is in direct, I will remind everybody, which is a direct contradiction of what Corporation Counsel Liz Souza said during the hearings in front of the Public Health Committee, when she said they had the right, even though that, if you remember, you get the tape, during that meeting, I went up during citizens input and read exactly that. At the end of the law they were using to allow them to impose fees, it said that the city council did not abrogate their authority, that they had the final say on this, and there's another case of where the city council did not take immediate action to reverse it.
Well, why should they? That would mean they had to do their job. But this is our big problem, and this is a major problem in Fall River, that our city councilors don't know their job. They don't know what rights and authority they have. And oddly enough, Chip, you and I constantly bring the law out here. We're not lawyers, okay? But we know how to read. We have more than a third grade education, which is scary for Fall River. But, we bring this out to them and we tell them. And we let them know, and oh no, that's not right. That's not what corporate counsel said. Well, many corporate counselors took their bar exam with crayons, so you have to take that for what it's worth. But when the law is clear on what you have the right to do, and now we have a corporate counsel who was in office at the time, mind you, okay, tell you that the fee structure is set strictly by the city council. Strictly by the city council. How can you turn around and say you don't have any authority? But you had enough authority to say to the people of Fall River, hey, the heck with you, okay, and give it to them because you want to take a fee for sidewalk dining or sidewalk sales. You've now want to make, first off, it was ad infinitum. The permit was limited only by the dates put on the permit application. So the loophole in it was if you didn't put any dates on the permit application, you got it for life. Well, now they want to take away the fee. They had to be reminded that if you take away the fee and people get these for life, you are creating a de facto easement. That means that belongs to the business owner and they can sell that right. Wait, we got to stop that. So instead, we're going to charge a fee. We're going to make sure that the license is limited to an annual permit. And because we care so much about the people of Fall River, we're going to cut the fee in half to $15. Hey, Mr. City Council, how about you cut my fees? Why don't you cut my fees? Why don't you cut my taxes? Why don't you cut all of that? Oh, well, this is to build business in Fall River. We're going to try to make a thriving business down in Fall River. We've already lost a restaurant. Yeah, you know what? Look, $30, according to Councilor Rigo, that's pennies. We're not going to make or break the bank over it, okay? But you moved to drop the fee to $15. Remember, everything you guys do, November is around the corner. But I know a lot of seniors. I know some city retirees that could use that $15 to pay for medication because we know the city health plan is crap.
Well, yeah. Well, it's funny because, we should, the city council, and most of our mayors have been delusionary. And I've said it time and time again. The reality is, look, you got to know what you got, Being objective in your evaluation of what you have is the first step in maximizing your full potential. If you got 3-inch arms and you're a boxer, you can't fight from the outside. You have to learn how to get close to your opponent, because if you got arms like a penguin, you can't do that, because that's just an analogy and it's a reality. It's not something that I'm making up. You can't fight a guy that's a foot and a half taller than you that can stick his hand out and hit you when he's a half away, when you can't even get within 3 feet of him unless you learn how to get under that stuff and hit them. And you have to be objective. If you don't have a lot of money, You can't, if you have a business in a city that people have no money, you can't charge $9 for a hamburger unless you want to go out of business. And even if you do everything right. And the other thing is, downtown? What downtown do you know that has a courthouse stuck in the middle of it? I mean, there's some great city planning. Man, stick a courthouse down there. Stick a whole bunch of state offices down there.
Oh, wait a minute. Didn't Kenny have something to do with that? Because wasn't he on the redevelopment authority at the time?
Yeah, well, but this is the kind of stuff like the tourism thing. Let's out-tourist Newport, and let's do this and let's do that. Look, work within. We can get containerized shipping. We have people here that will work hard, train them in jobs, train them to be welders or something, and have an apprenticeship program that we can use as a funnel to get these people in the door to various things. There are things we can do if we're realistic. But the problem is we have a council that's, you wonder if they've been down to the hookah lounge for too long and what they're putting in the hookah pipe. Because I mean, the things that they talk about, it's always pie in the sky. It's always one cure for our problems. Well, yeah, it's the casino, it's Amazon, it's this, it's that. Baloney. The fact is, this is a brick-by-brick, step-by-step process, gradual rebuilding of this community, and it can only be done when we understand who we're working with and what we're doing. And the first step has to be a minimum of a 25% reduction in subsidized housing in this community. Because if you want this community to be better, we can't become the dumping ground. And as CJ said in front of the council, the state has already said, it's not like the Statue of Liberty, send me, you're tired, you're hungry, but no, it's send us all your problems. Send them to Fall River and New Bedford. Let's clean the state out. Boston cut their subsidized housing down. Greatly, tremendously. Where'd they send them? Fall River, New Bedford. We got people from other states getting trucked in.
Yep.
And we go, wow, look, maybe this city should have 75,000 people in it, not 88,000, especially when the difference virtually don't contribute to the economy. Is that controversial? I don't know. I don't care. Because the fact is, it's a fact. It is a fact. When you bring people in that don't contribute to the economy, they hurt the economy. They drag the economy down. They weigh us down. We have to provide services to these people. And a lot of these people are criminals. A lot of them aren't criminals, but they are criminals. Because a lot of these people are people who turned state's evidence and ratted people out in other communities, and they shipped them out. This is like a pseudo witness protection program that we have at our subsidized housing.
And if you're really good at doing it, you get a job as a vice principal making $88,000 a year.
Yeah, another problem with Fall River. We always give out positions based on political affiliations. It has nothing to do with the fact, in a private industry, when you hire somebody, they have to have credentials, at least. You hire an assessor, you would say, well, the man could appraise a property. Well, if you go to your bank, you can't use the Fall River assessor to make an appraisal of your house. You have to get a licensed appraiser. So you think that would be one of the criteria, but it isn't. City planner. Now I know the city planner is an attorney, but he has virtually what are his credentials in planning? He knows how to put together a legal brief in a criminal case. There's an old Taoist adage. Knowledge is merely the gateway to the house of wisdom. Knowledge in and of itself is useless if you don't know how to apply that knowledge. And people have, not saying they're not intelligent, but the fact is, unless you're trained in a particular field, you really can't do it. So if you're going to be a city planner, you should have some kind of credentials and you should have served some kind of apprenticeship and you should have worked your way up and had some experience before you get these jobs. But no, well, we fired a city planner with 20 years experience and got somebody with no experience because they supported Mayor Flanagan. Now we've got a lawyer as a city planner who has, as far as I know, no city planning experience. And I don't care if you've got as many degrees as a thermometer. The fact is, if the degree isn't in the proper field, you're useless. You know, if I get somebody with a degree in basket weaving and I put them in charge of brain surgery at Mass General, it's not going to go well.
Well, you know, maybe he has a degree from the College of Lincoln Logs. You know, I mean, anything's possible. But, you know, it's just interesting how, you know, we present a lot of the facts and nobody listens. I think that last night, Councilor Correa brought up a good fact. The mayor has not once shown up to this council, to this committee, and said, I want pay-as-you-throw, I want the ordinance, I want to be able to enforce it. Never once. But when he wanted Lou Pacheco's job and he wanted Rob Bentleweski's job, he was down there kissing as much butt as he could do. He showed up for that. So obviously, that was important. That was important. But pay-as-you-throw either is not important or he doesn't want to put his neck on the line with the voters of Fall River and say, I want this. Because this is a political hot potato. And honestly, you know, on Jason Correa's run for mayor, and you could hear it last night, he hasn't formally announced, it is still a rumor. But you could understand how, yes, come down here and make that commitment.
Well, you're right. And talk about commitment, I have to get this in before the end of the show. We've only got about 3.5 minutes. There's been a lot of talk amongst people who are in this trash, whatever the euphemism they use for the committee. I call it the trash
Task force, yeah.
Trash task force, trash subcommittee, trash committee. You know, it's just all trash anyway. But the fact is, you know, we have some people that are complaining because they're being vilified because they would not allow an open meeting. Well, let me say this. This is my personal opinion. And unlike you people, I don't care whether you like it or not. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it publicly in front of the camera, and I don't give two craps what you think, because I'm willing to take the heat. You know, if you like what I say, I'm tenacious. If you don't like what I say, I'm pugnacious. That's just the real. That's just the real world.
As long as it's not a West Highland Terrier.
It's in the eyes of the beholder. But listen, one of the people on that committee or task force said, well, people, they don't want to be subjected or be harassed, or they don't want to be held accountable for what they say. Well, guess what? This is a committee that's dealing with a public issue, an issue that affects all the people of Fall River, and it's supposed to be something that is transparent from a mayor who ran on a transparency platform, and there is none. So my message to you is, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you took the job, be courageous enough to say what you feel, and you either agree or disagree. We can agree or disagree with you, but at least don't do things behind closed doors. Cowards do that. So if you want to take the job, take the heat. Come out into the sunshine and say what you feel, and people can agree or disagree. But that's the way it's done when you're dealing with in the public forum.
That's very good. And you and I have both said it numerous times. The truth is not afraid to be debated, and that's what we have to do. We have to debate the truth. It's always interesting to be out there. We just want you to be sure that that we're out here getting you the information and fighting for your rights and for what you need to know. Thanks for watching the show. It's been a great evening. It'll be a great show again on Friday. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.